Italian food can be kind of tough because at least for our American Italian experiences, it's super pasta based, right? But there are so many other flavors that can come into this and so many other options and little adjustments that we can make to still get a lot of the same flavor and experience. So that's what we did with our recipes today. And we are going to start with some lasagna or some lasagna, depending on how you like to pronounce it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start sauteing some onion. I got my stovetop going here, and we're gonna start making the different elements that come together for this. So I'm gonna get my onion going in my saute pan and just give that a good, I don't know, couple minutes or so to saute what we're doing. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll add in my garlic, right? You don't want to add usually garlic and onion at the same time. Onion takes a little bit longer. Garlic is a little bit more fragile and tends to cook very quickly. So usually you want to cook your saute your other items first and then add your garlic in kind of in the last minute-ish. So we're going to go ahead and get that going. And then while I'm taking care of this, I'm actually going to go ahead and have Amber explain how she did the noodles. Because if you've looked at the recipe, we're not using standard noodles, right? We got a substitute, and she's the one that prepped the noodles for us. So I'm going to go ahead and let her explain that to you while I'm taking care of this business right here.
Okay, so with the noodles, basically it's a little tricky, but I exactly like the directions say how you blend the pasta ingredients, the egg, the almond flour, and the cream cheese, and you put it in a blender. And we just happen to have like a single serve blender, but it doesn't matter. You can do any because it blends up really liquidy because of the eggs. And then you have a baking sheet. We kind of eyed out the little lasagna pan that we're using, the 8x8. So I eyed it out to get a baking sheet that was exactly 2 of those, right? And it takes some adjustment. It's very thin, so it's a delicate dough, but it's really great because when it's done, it actually tastes like lasagna. So some of you may have used, zucchini noodles before or different things that you can buy, and I will tell you, this is my favorite thus far. But what you do, so you blend the dough, and then you have an oil. You take some parchment paper in your baking pan, however you put in your cookie sheet, and then you oil that parchment paper. Then you pour the lasagna mixture over. You kind of have to be careful, make sure that parchment paper is flat because it kind of curls up and then the dough will not spread out. So you kind of have to monkey it around with a spatula a little bit, really spread it out. And then you bake it for 8 minutes, 8 to 10. I did 8 today at 300 degrees. And then when you take it out, I like to make it cool. I will tell you, if you start handling it when it's hot, it is harder. So while you do that first, and then while that's cooling, you can put together everything else. So then what I did is I took another oiled piece of parchment paper and a cutting board, and then I flipped it over to it. But before I did that, sorry, I forgot one thing. I kind of loosened it with a really flat spatula first so it wouldn't stick. Because it's a delicate dough, right? It's basically eggs and almond flour, and a little bit of cream cheese. So it's a little delicate. Now, if it falls apart a little, no big deal. You kind of end up being, and you'll see when Jen layers it, it ends up being like a lasagna noodle. So some of them broke up a little bit. It's super bright. Can't see it. That's okay. Anyway, you'll see when she layers it, it's kind of broken up into little strips. Anyway, so you just have to be delicate with it. Careful with it, but it all tastes the same once it's all mixed in there. And another option that I realized I didn't realize it the first time I made it 2 weeks ago, but today I realized you could increase the recipe a little bit and maybe add a little bit more, like 1 more egg and another tablespoon of almond flour, just to make sure you have a thick enough, because mine turned out pretty thin today. And I thought, I should have upped that recipe just a smidge in order to have enough dough to fit that pan so that it doesn't fall apart so much. So that was just my only tip that I thought, well, we could add that. So hopefully that's clear as mud. I know it's kind of tricky, but you can play around with it. It really tastes amazing. So it doesn't matter if they break. You can still layer them in the lasagna. Lila is typing a question, and then I'm going to send it back over to Jen. Or Lila, if you want. Oh, is there a substitute for almond flour? Absolutely. Yeah, because there's very, very little in the recipe. You could totally use, you could use coconut flour, but coconut flour does have a little bit of a taste and you'd have to go less. So instead of I said 5 tablespoons, right? Because I think you should increase it. I would say like 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. 2? 2? Oh, it really sucks up the moisture. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of another flour that they could use. Yeah, and you could use a little regular flour because it's mostly eggs, honestly. You could. It wouldn't kill you to do that. Kind of depends on where you are with your journey. If you're pre-surgery, obviously, a little bit of regular flour is gonna be fine because it is mostly eggs. It's a lot like the cottage cheese bread that they've had on TikTok and Instagram and it's a lot like it. So you could just do eggs and cottage cheese and a little cream cheese and not use any flour, honestly, because it's mostly egg. So great question. All right, I'm gonna turn it on over to Jen.
It's not super complicated. It's just the handling of it. Sometimes it's a little delicate. But as Amber said, like you can try and kind of keep it in the whole sheet for the pan, but you could even kind of roll it into strips a little bit more like lasagna noodles, and that might be a little bit easier to handle as well. So you've you have ways. You have ways. So what I've been doing here while Amber was doing her describing is I got my onion sauteed, I added in my garlic, I added in my tomato paste, I believe 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon. And then we already ground our beef just to kind of, push the whole class time forward. So I added in my ground beef and stirred that up as well. And then I've got some seasonings and then I've got my sauce. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the tomato sauce into this. There we go. So just some regular marinara, nothing fancy there. And then I have some salt and I have some Italian seasonings and I have some garlic powder and I have sauce on my hand. There we go. So we're just going to stir this all together and then we're pretty much ready to put this guy, assemble. We're ready to assemble, layer it up, stick it in the oven. I've already got the oven at 350 degrees. So it is ready to go. And I mean, basically we're just heating everything up, right? We're just making sure everything is warm and melty. So in 15 or 20 minutes, it should be good. Should be good to go. So I'm going to set these bowls out of my way. They're in my way. Here we go. All right. So it's time to layer. First things first is before you start layering, well, before you even mix everything together, put a little bit of tomato sauce or that marinara in the bottom of your pan. Our jar we didn't need to use the whole jar in our recipe, so we had a little bit of leftover. So I just smeared a little bit in the bottom. This will keep that first layer from sticking to the bottom. So it's just kind of a nice little trick to do that. So first, we are going to put in one of our lasagna noodles. So I'm going to give it a go here. We'll see what we got. Not too bad. Yeah. All right. So there it is. All right. So we've got that. It's a little sticky. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our ricotta cheese. So half of the ricotta cheese, we're going to do 2 layers in this guy. So we're going to do half of our ricotta cheese. And I'm just going to kind of blob it in. This is very technical right here. I'm just going to blob some of it in. Easy peasy. And then we're going to blob and mash. Okay. That's my new technique for today. We're going to blob and mash our ricotta in there. So I'll just reserve the other half of this container for the next layer. Right. So we've got that. And then we'll go ahead and do half of our meat sauce. I'm going to put that in.
Somebody wants to see the noodles up closer.
Oh, okay. I'll try and hold them up for you.
I'll come up closer and try to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we see the noodles up closer a bit with the sauce, maybe, so it's.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's not so bright.
Stan, I know. Like we turn these lights down, but they are still really bright. If anything is on, anything light. So here, let me put the noodles in. This one's holding together a little bit better. I might be able to hold it up for you.
Cheese. You have to put cheese first.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I don't have any more cheese. The cheese is all going on top. I put the ricotta in. Am I supposed to put some of this?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I'm supposed to put some of this in.
It doesn't all go on top, so it
Oh,
layers
okay.
in with the Parmesan.
All right, I'm doing it. Here it is. All right.
She doesn't make lasagna.
I don't make lasagna. My people don't like red sauce, so I'm sorry. I'm a lasagna inexperienced person. But here I are. Okay, so here's our noodles. You know what? This one's coming apart. I'm just gonna hold up part of the noodle. So that's part of it, right? Kind of came apart a little bit. That's okay. It's all just gonna get mashed up together anyway, right? It's gonna get cut up. Ha, there we go. So that's what it looks like in the pan. Now it just looks like a big white sheet. There we go. Okay, so let's do our next layer. All right, the rest of the ricotta. Let's go ahead and plop this in here. Ta-da! And the nice thing with something like this, of course, right? You can make it like you could assemble ahead of time. If you just need to come home and shove it in the oven, if you can assemble ahead of time, that's really a nice way to do it. I don't think it really needs to be something you need to bake ahead of time because everything really is already cooked. So you don't need to bake it ahead of time and then, heat it when you're actually going to sit down to eat it. Although you could, but you don't have to. All right, where am I at? Meat sauce. All right. Okay. So the rest of our meat sauce going in. I don't know. How many fans of lasagna do we have out there? Do we have some lasagna fans? Some people who are like, oh, shoot, I'm going to miss my lasagna and my Italian food. Sad, right? All right, so we'll get the rest of our cheeses on here. I'm going to do it this way. Well, if you're a cheese fan, you are in luck. This is going to be the best. All right. And then I got some Parmesan, right? That's very Italian. So we're going to get our Parmesan going on there. Yeah. We'll give it in the crevasses here on the edges. There we go. Boom. Done. It looks like lasagna to me. I know it's probably kind of hard to see. It's just a big white blob in a pan, but that's okay. It's going to taste amazing. So I'm going to put it into the 350 oven, probably for 20, just to make sure it's nice and heated through. That's pretty much all you got to do. And then you're done, like really nice dinner served. Will your people know that you used a different noodle? Maybe, probably not. I mean, unless they're really big noodle connoisseurs, I think they're not going to really notice a difference. They're going to taste all the meat and the sauce and the cheese, and it's going to be a good meal. All right, so that's our lasagna, Amber. We're ready to move on. Commercial break, people.
Okay, everybody. It looks like we've got some lasagna fans. Let's see. Jennifer B says, my husband's Sicilian. Oh boy, he might be able to tell the difference. I don't know though. I for so many years did not eat lasagna, mostly because I was no dairy, and it was just, obviously dairy, pasta, all of it. But I've been enjoying it more lately, and it's so good. This one's my favorite so far. Like I said, the noodles sound like they're hard, but honestly, it's just getting used to them. So let's see. Jessica H says, love it. And then Jennifer V also said pesto lasagna or a creamy sauce is good too. That's what Jen does more of, is more white sauce at home. I think one of her family members is either allergic to tomatoes or doesn't like them, one of the two. And so that's why she doesn't make lasagna. Let's see. Gail says, I love lasagna. Jennifer V says, I'm up a creek for that. Oh, well, she must be talking about if she puts these noodles in the lasagna. Come on, he wouldn't notice. My husband would notice if I put squash noodles in there, but probably wouldn't notice these. Okay, so this little break, we are going to be talking about, I think I didn't really have a slide for this, so I'm just going to stay on this commercial break one, but I'll go back to the Italian table. Actually, it's a nicer looking slide. So basically, what we really do is that we come up with ways to enjoy the foods that you love to have that are less carbs. They, if you've had, some of you have had surgery, some of you are about to have surgery. Either way, after bariatric surgery, carbohydrate foods like, white flour, pastas, things like that, rice, oats, they're very difficult to eat. And also they increase your blood sugar and increase fat storage. So we don't advise eating them at all for the first year, but if you do, very small amounts, right? So even when someone said almond flour, I mean, coconut flour might not taste that great. I mean, I'm just telling you, like we're going to use it, I think, or we used it in a custard, I think. Did we use it for the custard? Oh, it's in the cake. Okay, we are going to use it in a dessert, which is another topic I'm going to talk about is substitutes. But for this one, a couple tablespoons of regular flour would not, throw you into a weight gaining spiral. So I want you to take everything that we do with a grain of salt, right? We're trying to make living healthier easier. I had a patient just yesterday, really struggles with eating after dinner. He's tired, he's stressed, right? He needs to go to bed really, but he starts eating stuff. So we're coming up with ways to eat things that are healthier, like a Greek yogurt with maybe some sugar-free chocolate chips on top and some chopped nuts, things like that we can get through. But what we do here is we take like this next recipe, like the lasagna. I know I kind of feel repetitive. I'm like, this is so good, but this chicken fettuccine is so good. Let's see. Brown rice flour would good too. That's all those ricey, starchy flours are going to bump the carbs up, but it's just a couple tablespoons. So it's going to help make more of a dough and it would be totally fine. Someone said, stupid question. Oh man, all the teachers in the room. There is no stupid questions ever, Gail. Coconut flour does have a coconutty flavor, but it's such a small amount in this recipe. If you were to substitute it, I would just get almond flour unless you have a nut allergy. It's cheap at Walmart. It's not bad. It seems expensive when you buy it, but you're not using it cup after cup after cup, right? You're not using that much. So I would just say, stick with a couple of regular flour if you really don't want to use almond. So Ashley is typing, and then I think Jen's really close. Oh wait, she's not doing the chicken fettuccine next. My apologies. She's doing another amazing thing, breadsticks. Okay. Oh, and Winco does have almond flour in the bulk aisle. Some of our patients here actually live in places that don't have Wincos, but that's why I always say Walmart, because pretty much anyone that comes to our class has a Walmart, or at least a half an hour to 45 minutes away from a Walmart. But yeah, I love Winco bulk aisle. I totally agree with that. So, okay. How are we doing? She's almost there. All right. Any more questions about the lasagna? You can make it you can do white sauces. When we do the chicken fettuccine, it's got a white sauce. It's pretty easy to do. And the cool thing is, yeah, it's high in fat, but we do a lower fat lactose-free milk today. So it's not as heavy feeling as like a cream, but you can do all kinds of stuff. The key is experimenting and kind of trying new things that you're not used to doing. Even if your husband's Sicilian, you can still try it. You never know. He might like it. And if he's trying to lose a couple pounds, hey, pasta could be a really big part of, a lot of calories because none of us have like one serving of it. All right, I think she's ready. Enough of me jabbering. All right.
All right, so we're back and we're doing breadsticks, right? Like noodles and bread. How do we get around that when we're trying to eat something Italian, right? So we've got another iteration, I guess I would say, of the different breadstick roll kind of recipes online. Fathead dough is the name of it, and there's just been different versions that we've done. And we got a little bit different version this time as well. Typically the base is always some shredded mozzarella cheese. And so I've been warming this. I'm gonna stick it for a few more seconds in the microwave. So I didn't want to do like 30 to 45-second amounts and then stir and then do another one because you don't want to blow past and then start cooking your cheese. And then what we'll do is we'll mix in our butter and our cream cheese. One of the differences with this recipe in comparison to what we've done in the past is that we're not using almond flour. All our other versions, they did use almond flour, and this time we are using coconut flour, which again is totally fine to use in some of these recipes. However, coconut flour, because it's so absorbent, is not a one-to-one substitute. So you can pretty close substitute one-to-one with maybe flour and almond flour. They're going to be pretty close. But with coconut flour, it's a pretty small fraction, like maybe a third, roughly, of what the other flour amount would be. So usually the safe bet is to say, find a recipe that uses coconut flour instead, where someone has already vetted the process for you. Otherwise, you're kind of, might have a few run-throughs of a recipe to figure out what the proper amount of the coconut flour is for you to use. So this one uses coconut flour, right? I've got 1 tablespoon of butter going in and 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. And I'm just going to stir this in. It's just going to give us a little bit more of that nice kind of richness. These are, they feel like bread, but I would say they're a little bit more dense. And some of that's going to come from the cheese, and then some of that will come from the almond flour as well. But I just need to get this all stirred together, and then it's going to be the eggs and then the flour and the rest of the seasoning. So as far as a quote unquote bread goes, it's a pretty high protein bread, right? So you're not getting all of the processed carbohydrates from the flour, the normal all-purpose flour that you would normally get. And that's really kind of what Amber was getting to, is a lot of the carbohydrates that are in some of these foods, especially with the pasta and a lot of the breads and such, is it is highly processed, and it doesn't work out so good in our bodies. The carbohydrates, because all the fiber and such has been pulled out, tends to have a more negative effect metabolically than if we still had all the fiber and maybe some of the protein and the fat that naturally actually comes with the wheat, berries, the grains. Okay, so I've got that all stirred together. I'm going to mix in my eggs first. Why? Because it adds some moisture to the dough, and it makes it a little bit easier to mix in my dry ingredients if I add my eggs first. Learned that by experience last time. But I'm going to go ahead. It's time. I'm going to get in here with my hands. So you don't have to. You can just spend your time with your spatula. It's going to take me a hot minute with that. So I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. And yeah, maybe in a minute, Amber, you can come and help. But right now, I'm just going to see if I can get my eggs mixed in. It's pretty soupy, but that's all right. All right, so what I've got actually in my other bowl right here is the coconut flour. Got some garlic powder, some Italian seasonings, and some salt. So you do want some salt with these guys, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this all in. And this should come together pretty well like a dough. And then we're just going to divide it up into our 8 little pieces. And you can make this into different shapes. We're going to make it into sticks. This stuff doesn't roll as well as regular dough does, so you're going to have to kind of form it. And that's where Amber's going to come in and help. Otherwise, you're just going to stand there and watch us for way too long make breadsticks. But we're going to get these formed together on our sheet right there. All right, Amber, you ready? She's gloving up. She's coming on camera, people. Oh, you don't have your apron on. It's okay. You look good in red. All right. Yeah. All right. There she be. So I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, you messed me up now.
How to mess you up?
I gotta cut this into 7 even pieces.
Oh, because I took one.
Because you took one.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do your best.
I thought we were just grabbing it and going.
Well, whatever. It's bread. It's gonna be fine. This one looks a little big. I'm gonna give that one some. So I'm just gonna do my best, right? So these could be really good rolls. So if you're going to do rolls, maybe Thanksgiving time, We did rolls then, so a little bit different recipe, but the same kind of idea. I think you could even do something like this and make it into like buns. If you wanted to have like burger buns, I think could be really good. Or you can kind of
We've made them into,
we have.
yeah.
We
Well,
have.
the ones we did on Thanksgiving, I made into a burger bun.
Oh, okay. Amber did it.
It's
Amber made them
really
into
good.
burger buns. I was thinking with the shape that we're making, you could make each of these a little bit bigger and they could be hot dog buns too. Not that we suggest eating a lot of hot dogs, but
That'd
they
be so
could.
filling. These
Oh,
are
my
filling by
goodness.
themselves. You could cut these in half easily and
Yeah, they are very stout. So yeah, if you wanted to end up dividing this
into 16.
into
easy.
12 or 16, you
Yeah.
could definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna melt this butter and we're gonna brush it on the top and sprinkle a little bit of salt, some like crunchy salt, and a little bit more. I've got a little bit more of my Italian seasonings there. It's gonna be awesome.
Excuse me.
Okay, good. I got my brush. Woo. All right, do we have comments? I can't even see what's going on.
Yes, we do.
All right, what do we got? What's coming from the nut gallery out there?
Jessica said, wait. So you took the same recipe and made them into burger buns? Yes.
This sounds like a pivotal moment in her life right now. Yes. Just brushing a little bit of melted butter on top. That'll help get the salt and the Italian seasoning to stick. Yeah, I feel like this is a moment where we're sharing, was it Jessica? We're sharing a moment in your life right now, Jessica. This is a special moment where you can make yourself some really cool hamburger buns, right? All right, crunchy salt, like coarse salt. You don't have to do it. That's just kind of fun. And then I've got a little bit of extra Italian seasoning to go on top. Again, you don't have to do this part, but it's just kind of nice and fun. Adds a little extra flavor. All right. So those are ready to go. I'm going to let my lasagna take a little bit more time before I go ahead and put these into the oven, but then we'll stick these in. These don't take too long, like, yeah, 15-ish minutes or until they're starting to get brown. So it is going to depend a little bit on what shape and how big you make each of them. If you're going to split this into 12 to 16, you're probably going to end up having to pull them out a little bit sooner because they're going to cook faster because they're smaller. If you're making them bigger, like into hamburger buns, might need a little bit more time to make sure they're completely done and just starting to get a little bit of that browning going. But breadsticks, people, right? Life is good still, right? We can still make good choices. We can still lose weight and be on target and get healthier. And we can still have breadsticks. Not too hard, pretty good. All right, Amber, I think we're ready to move on. Yeah. All right, moving on. Commercial break.
Okay, everyone. I love all the comments. I wanted to say something because Jen mentioned the buns. Personally, I would not make them too tall because it's very dense. It's made of cheese, honestly. So I would make them more like if you've ever seen those like sandwich thin buns, try to make them pretty flat and then just, cut them in half and make a thin bun. I toasted mine, put butter on it, and then put a burger in it. It was really good. Okay, so Jessica said, I've never really thought of or tried to make, oh, sorry, somebody blocked my message. Okay, make my own noodles, buns, and stuff to make them healthier for me. I feel so behind in a better life. Oh, you know what? That's what we're here for. I mean, I had someone, yeah, kind of like naan or flatbread. Exactly, Ashley. So that's what we're here for. I mean, think about it. I think 3 years ago is when I started. I wasn't doing a lot of this type of cooking myself at home. And I'm a dietitian, like I knew all about it, but I've just discovered so many amazing together, Jen and I doing this together, just a lot of cool things. So there's some pantry items. Since some of these questions are coming up, I thought I would have a little chat about some pantry items you want to have handy. Okay. We're going to do the chicken fettuccine next, and then we're going to have a dessert. We try to have a dessert almost every class. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes we do, like February, we do all dessert class. So if you didn't see that one, Well, actually, we didn't have a class because I was on medical leave and Jen got sick. So we just did recipes for that one. But anyway, it's good to have some of these pantry items. So someone was talking about almond flour. Okay, that's the bottom left, or probably your right. My left, coconut flour is a good thing to have on hand. We also use a lot of this product in the middle called Swerve. We use sugar substitutes. Now, some people are like, I don't like sugar substitutes, but these particular ones typically have a monk fruit or erythritol, and they do not affect your blood sugar. So there's a little bit more, it's a little bit better for you than some of like the aspartame or the saccharin or those types of ones that you see. I also recommend having some xanthan gum or arrowroot flour also in your pantry. It's a nice thickener. Xanthan gum, you got to be careful with. Let's just say that. I made a stir fry recently and used it as a thickener, and I think I added a little too much. So arrowroot works a lot better. And it's just a flour substitute. And honestly, you're going to see in this chicken fettuccine, we use a tiny bit of real flour and nobody dies, like it's okay. In fact, at Thanksgiving, we get people through with gravy and there's a little bit of flour in the gravy, but it's not that much carbs. Like we're not talking about bread on bread on bread or pasta on pasta on pasta. Someone asked about the recipes, whether they're good pre or post surgery. Honestly, the only thing that really changes is the serving size. So like that breadstick, there's no way after surgery you'd be able to eat the whole thing. No way. So, and those of you that have had surgery know what I'm talking about. Those that you haven't, that's okay. You're just really limited in your amount of food you can eat at first. And that does get better with time. But that's how you naturally lose weight in the beginning, for sure. So these pantry items are very helpful. They sell them on Amazon. They sell them at Walmart. They have Winco bulk, the xanthan gum, the arrowroot, the almond flour, coconut flour. Don't think they have Swerve. And then also they have other products like at Costco, they have Lakanto monk fruit. So there's a lot of places you can get these bulk items, but I highly recommend them for when you want to start cooking healthier and things. Jessica said, my son was shocked when I got a full off a string cheese. I mean, maybe you meant like a full box, not a full off. Full box of string cheese, probably. That's what you meant. Unless I'm reading it wrong. All right, you're ready for me. I got to switch over, but Jessica's like one piece. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like when you only had one piece, I'm sure. All right, I'm going to switch it on over to Jen and get going on the chicken Alfredo. Yummy, yummy.
We're ready for the next. We're doing pasta, but it's not really pasta, but it's going to be really, really good. I mean, the sauce with everything that goes into this, it's pretty darn good. Easy leftovers too. We lived on this for a couple days in the office on the leftovers, so it was good stuff. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is saute up your vegetables, right? So we got a lot of vegetables in this one, which is great, especially if you're trying to get variety in plant foods. You just put a lot of variety of vegetables. There's not huge quantities of anything in here, but we do have variety. And I had just pre-sauteed this a little bit before class just to kind of get things going a little bit. The softness of these vegetables, I would say really can be up to you and where you're at in your journey, what your preference is. So you can saute these longer or shorter, whatever you prefer. But I got onions, carrots, broccoli, celery, mushrooms, and of course a little oil in there as well, and then some salt and pepper just to give it some flavor. So pretty much just kind of heating this guy up and getting them all nice and sauteed. Yeah. So one of our other ideas actually that Emma and I had toyed with as well, we didn't do it this time, was even maybe pre-roasting some of the vegetables. So if you wanted to do your carrots, so like our recipe says to take a couple carrots and chop them up really small, which you certainly could do. This time though, we actually bought shredded carrots. And we thought this is going to be way easier and they're going to cook a little faster. So if you need something a little bit softer with your carrot, because that is the hardest one in here, then you could do carrot shreds, or you could chop them up into smaller pieces and just roast them in the oven until they're nice and soft, and then just put them in with everything else. You could do the same with the broccoli if you wanted. So there are just some little things that you could do a little bit differently there that will help with the version of cooking that you might prefer, and then even the flavor. I think roasted vegetables taste really good. So that's what we've got in here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take our, what, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of flour, right? So not a lot, just like Amber was saying, we're just using a little bit to thicken. So we don't have to be, you know, super strict all of the time about any little tiny thing that we're putting in here. But we wanna kind of see if we can avoid the big stuff, right? The pasta on pasta and the bread on bread. But this couple tablespoons, this is just gonna help thicken things up a little bit. And there are other options, like Amber was saying, there's this xanthan gum that can work well to thicken a lot of different dishes, especially if there's a lot of liquid in there. But the flour works well. You can use cornstarch. You can use arrowroot powder. So we've used really kind of a variety of different ones in there. All right, so then we're going to add our lactose-free milk. You can use regular milk, but Amber needs lactose-free, and I want her to be able to eat this. So I'm using lactose-free milk. Ta-da! And then our broth. So I've got a cup of broth, cup and a half of the lactose-free milk going in here.
I never turned off the PowerPoint.
Oh, could no one see me?
Gail was like, Amber, Jen is tiny. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Gail. Jen was tiny. I appreciate that. Gail can come anytime and call me tiny. I'm not tiny. But thank you, Gail. That's great. Please, if something doesn't look right, speak up.
I know.
We
thank
try
you
and
so
get it right
much.
every single
I'm
time.
sorry.
But like sometimes it's just one step that we don't quite get or it doesn't quite work right. That also happens. Technology,
Sorry.
right? What do you
Told
do?
her, thank you for waking me up.
Well, I was kind of wondering because I was a tiny little square on the screen that I can see, but I thought I didn't realize that that meant that I was tiny for everyone else. I didn't really think about it. So I was just doing my thing, just making fettuccine vegetable goodness over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you really want to try and bring this to a simmer. And so that's going to take a few minutes here. So what I'm going to do while that is heating up and starting to thicken, and this, again, you can kind of simmer this for as long or as short as you want. It really depends on your preference on how thick you like it. Obviously, you don't want it too thick, but you know, not super watery either, right? We want to kind of thicken up so it's kind of sticking to everything a little bit. So while that is working its magic over there, let's talk about these zucchini noodles, right? So if any of you guys have done zucchini noodles or zoodles, they can be a really nice pasta substitute. So the nice thing with zucchini is it's pretty bland. Like for example, sometimes with the cauliflower rice, it still kind of tastes like cauliflower. Depends on how well you can flavor that layer. So if you make cauliflower fried rice, you're going to get more of that fried rice flavor. But if you just have plain steamed cauliflower rice, you're going to get more of the cauliflower taste in there. So just really kind of depends on what you like. But with the zucchini, this is a pretty darn bland vegetable. We're going to hide the flavor of this really easy with all of this sauce and the meat and the vegetables and everything that's going to go in there. And then one of the things that you can consider doing is, you know, I've got a green zucchini. You can also get yellow zucchini. So if you have folk in your home who are color averse, they see green on their noodle and they're like, nope. You can get the yellow squashes and do that instead. So we've done that in class once before, or you could peel it, just get it off, right? So you got a couple options. I mean, it'd be nice to leave the skin on. There's nutrition in that too. But either way, so I've got my zoodler. You don't have to have a zoodler to make this dish work. You can buy these in the store just like this. You can buy them frozen, but they're a little squishy. So if you don't care about the texture, yes. You can also buy them just zoodled like this in the vegetable section of your store. Or you could just use a potato peeler and just, so then you have a little bit more like ribbons instead of noodles, but you're going to get basically a similar experience, right? So I don't know how much these cost now. I think I bought this a few years back for $25, $30-ish, but all you got to do is stick this guy in here, make sure you have the right attachment there, and I'm going to try not to make anything fly. So normally you've got little feet down here that will suction to your counter, but it doesn't suction to my wood cutting board very well. So I'm just going to hold on to it. And then we're just going to I'm gonna zoodle this guy, like this is gonna take 30 seconds, if that. And then you're done. So you can make these really, really fast and honestly way cheaper if you've got the zoodler, right? So this guy will go for a long time. I've had this for several years now, and it's got other attachments on it. So you can have bigger zoodles, smaller zoodles, more like little rings, I guess maybe we would call them. So, but ta-da, there we go. So I've got now a lot of zucchini noodles. There we go. All right, I'm gonna push this over to the side and get this out of the way. There we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do then also is I'm gonna saute them just a little bit. We're just gonna soften them a touch. You don't have to if you're cool with the texture of this, especially if you find that the sauce softens, if you just like put the sauce on it. You can soften the zucchini with the heat of the sauce if you just let it sit for a couple minutes. I'm going to switch these over. But I'm going to saute them just to kind of soften them up a little bit for you guys. And that way you can kind of see how that goes. So I've got a little bit of oil in my pan. I'm going to make sure I babysit my sauce over here. So I got a little bit of oil in the pan. I'm in a couple minutes and these guys are going to be done. I'm just gonna do about 1 zucchini's worth, maybe. Yeah, about that. There we go. Maybe a little more. Or a lot. We're just gonna keep going. Or you can chop these, or you can see who can make the longest noodle. There we go. That's pretty great. All right, so I'm just gonna saute these for just a minute or two because they're so delicate anyway. You want to make sure that you don't over saute this guy. So kind of be in there, you kind of got to babysit a little bit. Just give it a couple minutes and it's going to be done. So we're just softening them a tiny bit. Otherwise, again, you're going to end up with some kind of squishy noodles, right? So if you've ever cooked or sauteed zucchini, you know it can get pretty squishy pretty fast. And that's not the texture we're going for here for sure. So we just want a little bit of sauteing going on. And then what we are going to do, where did I put my chicken, Amber? I think I left my chicken in the fridge. So we got to have some protein in this guy, right? So we're going to add some chicken and then I'm going to add some cream cheese and some Parmesan cheese to my sauce that's simmering over there. And then we're just going to let it kind of finish out its thickening, basically. So probably a few more minutes and then we'll get to that. But that's about it with these guys. Again, you don't want to go too much. That way also they're a little warm if you do this. But I don't know, maybe I'm kind of lazy. So when I'm at home, if I do something like this, I don't even do this part. I'm just like, pour hot sauce on the noodles, guys. It'll be fine, right? Not a big deal. All right, so I'm gonna set those over there for a hot minute. Bring this guy back. And then I'm gonna add in my chicken. I'm gonna add in my cheeses. Yep. All right. So Parmesan cheese, we've got grated Parmesan cheese. It'll just melt a little bit faster. And then I've got half a brick of some cream cheese that's going in here. And so that'll melt up pretty quick. And then I'm gonna get my chicken. So here's my chicken. This is my chicken right now. We just got a rotisserie chicken and shredded it off the body. You can buy it pre-shredded, of course, right? Like at Walmart and such, you can do that. I'll buy it at Costco too and just freeze part of it because it's just easier. But you could also just bake a breast or two and just chop that up and put it in here. Or you could Instapot it, or you could grill it, right? You could do a lot of different things. You could griddle it. So a lot of different ways to have your chicken, but this is just kind of an easy one if you don't have any chicken already ready to go. All right, are people talking out there?
Someone just said, would Costco rotisserie, and you said.
Oh,
okay,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two great minds right there, right? Yeah. I love that one. You know what, people? I need stuff to be kind of quick. So if I can get some good protein that I can lay it out on the table in a pretty short period of time, I'm gonna do it. And then I just, we don't go through all the Costco chicken that fast. So I'm usually freezing part of it and then pulling it out or freezing it in like one cup little baggies or something like that. Yeah.
Gail
Okay.
asked, what's the easiest way to shred chicken?
Oh, Amber did it. I don't know. What's the easiest way to shred? Is there an easy way to shred chicken?
I just put gloves on, girl, and went for it.
Okay. She just gloves went in. That's what she did. Yeah.
You want to buy the shredded if you don't want to do
I just buy the shredded. I mean, if you have the time, and especially if your budget, you're trying to be really, really budget conscious, then buying the rotisserie chicken, that is going to be the better way to do it. But if you don't have the time and you have a little bit of extra space in your budget to accommodate for buying it pre-shredded, then that is the easier way to go. So really, I think it just kind of depends on where you're at, right? With what you can do. Okay, so I think my lasagna is done. Oh my gosh, we gotta get going. Okay, I think my breadsticks need a couple of more minutes, so. No. All right, Amber. All right, let's move on. So lasagna came out. Alfredo is thickening. Let's do cake. We make cake. Amber's giving me that you only have 10 minutes left. Get going, girl.
All right, everybody. I wondered, last month we did fast recipes and it was fast, but today I thought, these are some good hearty recipes. They're not slow, but when you piece them all together with other things, it can be a little bit hard. And we're trying to get done in 60 minutes. So that's the thing. And we're doing 4 recipes. Now the next one's pretty quick though. So I think we're going to be okay on the mug cake. And Jennifer said hands for me, if not too hot. Yeah, we had it refrigerated. So it was easy because it was super cold. I don't know. Yeah, if you get it out of the warmer, then it can be too hot. So, yeah, she's ready. So I don't even need to talk about these vegetables, but because the last recipe she just did, all I was going to say was eat more plants. And that's why this picture is here. So that's it. All right.
So we're to the last. My other stuff actually is just sitting here kind of staying warm. The breadsticks are taking a couple more minutes. Let's make dessert. So we're going to do a lemon cake. A lot of Italian, not all, right? There's the whole tiramisu, and I get there are some other Italian desserts, but lemon is a pretty common one, I would say. So lemon cake, lemon custard, those kind of things. So we actually put 2 recipes in the recipe stack for you, but we're only going to make one in class because clearly time, right? So that's what we want. I feel like those breadsticks they're doing pretty good. We'll take them out. So let's make ourselves a really quick mug cake. So I have my 1/4 cup of almond flour in here. Basically, we're just going to dump it all and stir it and then put it in the mug. That's pretty much it. So I've got monk fruit as the sweetener, 2 tablespoons of monk fruit. And then in this same bowl, I've got my 1/4 teaspoon of the baking powder. You definitely want to have that. And then we need our egg. So I've got 1 egg in here, and then I have the 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. It's also in that bowl. And then we've got to have flavor. So we are going to have some lemon juice. We've got 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and then a little bit of lemon zest. So do you have to have the lemon zest? I mean, no, but is it going to make it taste better? Yeah, it really, really, really is. So if you can get yourself a lemon and zest, I actually zested the lemons when we did our testing of the recipes, and whatever was left over, I put it in a baggie and I put it in the freezer. And that's what's going into the cake today. So you could like zest once and maybe eat, multiple times when it comes to your mug cake. So we're going to put it in this big mug brought to you by Starbucks. And we're just going to stick it in the microwave. It's going to go for about a minute. Now with the mug cakes, normally, first of all, you do want to go ahead and like oil or butter the inside of the cake or the inside of the mug so it comes out a little bit easier. And I already had done that And then you do want to let it sit for a few minutes to cool. So I'm going to go ahead. It's like a minute in the microwave. It's not too long. There we go. And then the other recipe that we did was this Italian lemon custard, which just took a little bit more time, but it was really flavorful. So if you really like that nice, like kind of sweet, tart, lemony sort of a flavor, you would really, really like that one. But what you're going to do is you're going to put the ingredients in a bowl and set it on top of a pot with some boiling water or simmering water, or you can use a double boiler if you have that. But we do the poor man's version of the double boiler pretty much every time. Works just fine. And you're basically just sitting here and stirring everything until it starts to kind of get that thicker, hold onto the spoon kind of a texture, and then you pull that off. And then basically you put it into your little ramekins or jars or whatever you're going to put it into. And you can eat it warm, but then you can just also just stick it in the fridge and let it set. It'll be a little bit thicker then as well. Really, really good. Or Amber and I decided that that smeared on top of a lemon cake was the best. So you could do both. Ta-da! Cake, right? Yeah, so a little steamy. If I take it out right away, it might fall apart. So I'm going to give it a minute. So I think maybe we'll go to a commercial break and I'll just pull all this stuff together and we'll show you everything that we got. All right.
Honestly, look at this picture. Seriously, that's what our mug cake that we just made would look like if you had a smaller mug. But it's so good. Gail said, and I like your style, Gail. As much as I love lemon, can you replace the lemon with something like orange? Absolutely. That would be so good. I mean, you can do anything. And you can look up mug cakes. It's kind of a thing on the internet, like keto. A lot of people, anytime you want something desserty, pasta, or really carby, you look for a keto recipe. That's where we get a lot of our inspiration. We are not a keto program. We do not recommend that strict of any kind of diet, right? We're trying to make things enjoyable, tasty, appealing to the eye, and nutritious, all of those things. So really quick, because we're going to show you everything, and then oh yeah, it might be a little, yeah, the sweetness might be different because the orange. Let's see, my son made some chocolate and vanilla ones. Oh yeah, for culinary class. Yeah, that's more popular is the mug cakes that are chocolate. So we do record these. I started a little late today with the recording, but that's okay. In case you have friends or family you want to share it with, on our YouTube channel, you go to St. Luke's Health System YouTube and click on playlist, and then you can rewatch it, or honestly, you can send it to someone if you want. And then once you're in playlist, you click on bariatric nutrition and behavioral health. The title is not just bariatric nutrition anymore, it's behavioral health. And then anytime you want to keep signing up. Now, one of us may have signed you guys up for like 3 or 4 of these cooking classes, but you're like, how come they're not on there anymore? You have to sign up for it. So you need to scan this when you're in the office, or figure out how to scan it while you're still on the call. No, you could just email us at bariatricsupport@slhs.org. And I believe that's on this last slide. No, it's on our first slide. So let me type it in the chat, our email, in case you can't scan a QR code while you're on the phone, because I haven't figured that out yet. slhs.org. Whoops. There we go. That's our email where you can email us and sign up for these classes. Man, I didn't even have a lot to talk about today, but I appreciate all of your interaction and your comments and your questions. And Jen is scrambling. I needed to help you plate those. The lasagna I would have just kept in the pan. It's probably too hot to plate. I'm guessing it's too hot to plate. That's the hardest part when you're in a timed class. We have to do things that obviously if you had time to plate it, it would be better. Or we all know, those of us that are lasagna fans, if you have it the day after, it's even easier to plate and tastier. So we've got hot cake too. That's hard to plate. Anyway, someone's typing. So thank you for your time and enthusiasm. This has been a wonderful class. Thank you so much, Ashley. We love this part of our job. It's fun. It's different. Like, it takes us out of the clinic. You know, we're constantly right? Seeing patients. And so it is nice change. It's a lot of work, of course. She said there's zucchini everywhere. I'll be sweeping that up later. But it's still not too bad. We love it. Okay. Jen is going to make it. We've got 1 minute to show you everything. Thank you all for coming, and I'm going to switch it on over to her. Yes, I agree. Jennifer V said, today's recipes make me happy about still trying to eat Italian.
Oh, Jennifer, right? Like, let's just still enjoy all the good stuff, yeah? Okay, so the first thing that we did was a lasagna. So it's a little squishy because it's still kind of hot, but ta-da, lasagna. It's cheesy, it's meaty, it looks like it just has noodles in it. So we both actually like that. Oh boy, it'd be hard pressed to say which one was my favorite, but this is definitely a good one. And then we did our breadsticks, right? So here's all of our different breadsticks. Kind of can see them. Woo! Trying to get away. And then we've got our chicken, vegetable, zucchini noodle, fettuccine bit. So I've got some noodles here on the plate. And then I just put some of this, the white sauce vegetable chicken mixture on top. This could be a standalone thing. You don't even have to do the zucchini noodles if you don't have them. This is still it. You got the vegetables and the meat and the sauce. So perfect, easy peasy there. And then of course we've got our cake, right? I even made a little lemon rose with and the strawberry. So that's our little cake here. I cut it in half. So this is actually half of the cake. But it smells really, really good.
It's super bright today. I'm sorry.
It is kind of bright, but
Yeah, that's all right.
here we go. Oh, I'm losing my rose now.
It tastes really good.
It does taste really good. All right, people, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Holy cow, right? It's been a day, but I think we made it, and we definitely made some really good food. Recipes are going to turn out great for you guys. I think you're really, really going to like those. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Amber to wrap us up.
Okay, everybody. Thank you all for coming. We went 1 minute over. We try to always be on time, but like I said, those were a little bit more, really the oven time. That's what messed us up, was the oven time. But thank you all for coming. This will be posted within a week on the YouTube channel, and you have the recipes. Send us your feedback. Like if you make something and you're like, hey, we can always talk about it and adjust our recipes for the future. So I appreciate any feedback once you make these. Someone has a new comment. I better check it out. Jessica, you're welcome. Thank you all for coming. All right. Take care. Bye.